Sausage.
Hello everyone, this is Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Mark Kuznez, tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about Picross S. I want to try something different with this episode. I've talked about wanting to focus more so on my experience when discussing a game than how it works for a while now, and I can think of no better game than Picross S to test this out with. While I could go into great detail on how the game works, regurgitating the tutorial and or press release, I think instead giving you my personal experience is more valuable. After all, my personal experience is the unique information I can provide. So instead of spending too much time talking about how Picross works, don't worry, I won't not talk about the game and how it works because that's still important. I will focus instead on what it was like playing Picross for someone who's never played Picross before, and surprising no one, it starts at the tutorial. Things did not start off on the right foot. Instead of teaching me how to play first, Picross S thought it would be better to teach me how the menu and UI works, explaining what everything meant when I had no frame of reference for what it was talking about. This screen is where you solve Picross puzzles. Use the fill, X, and mark options at the top of the screen to progress.
Excuse me?
Use the what now? I know this may come as a surprise since you think you're pretty cool and all, but I've never played Picross S, so why don't you first teach me the rules before explaining what all the information on screen means? No? Okay, I guess you know best. Spoilers, Picross S did not know best. This continued and only made me more and more confused the deeper and deeper I got within the first tutorial. When I reached the end, I didn't actually reach the end. I was almost ready to quit right there and then, because if the game was already making bad decisions with how it handles tutorials and onboarding new players, why should I expect any better with its gameplay tutorial? Thankfully, I didn't quit the game as a whole and merely quit the first tutorial in favor of the second, which is the one that teaches you how to play. To quote Mandalorians, when it comes to the correct ordering of tutorials and what should have actually been first,
this is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
Now we're getting somewhere. Overall, Picross is an incredibly simple game. You are given a grid and have to fill it depending on what number or numbers correspond to the rows and columns in front of you. Grid size can vary, but 10 by 10 seemed to be the popular size for regular Picross through most of the early game. So, for example, if a row has the number 9 in front of it, this means 9 of the spaces are filled in while 1 is not. With this information, you're able to confirm 8 of the filled in spaces using simple logic and are then able to figure out the final filled in space through a process of elimination via a continuation of doing this same thing using basic logic with the rest of the rows and columns. To continue with my hypothetical, if one of the potential 9th spaces for said row is in a column with the number 1 above it and you already know where that filled in space is and it's not in the row with the number 9 in front of it that you're currently trying to solve, you now know that the other open space is the correct and final space and can complete that row. This is the entire game. They spice things up by including multiple numbers in front of rows and columns at times, but all this means is just as there's a space between the different numbers, there must also be at least one space between filled-in spaces in their respective row or column. Simple, right? Well, this is where the game, I stumbled just a smidgen in its tutorial because it did outright say the gap between two different numbers could be any size as long as there was a gap. It also didn't say the gap was only one space because it literally said it had to be at least, meaning it could be more, so all of the blame falls on me for assuming such. However, the tutorial could have been a bit more clear, it was perfectly clear, and explained itself better, it explained itself as well as it did and should have, but all's good that ends good, and good is how things ended up. This is just a perfect example of how streaming a game only leads to confusion and dumb mistakes one otherwise wouldn't make, probably, if they were playing the game on their own. The first few puzzles were a bit rocky because I was confused by the gap aspect initially, while a few accessibility options were turned on despite me thinking I turned them off, leading me to think I was making mistakes when the game was just trying to help. But once I figured the gap thing out thanks to the wisdom of a Jedi, an awfully good and swell Jedi you might call GS Jedi, and turn off the annoying accessibility options, which I'm happy are there, that's great. More accessibility? Yes, thank you. But when I say I don't want them, I don't want them. I had a wonderful time with Picross S. Its 3DS origins shine through the art you unlock after completing a puzzle thanks to their lo-fi nature and regular responsive. Wait, that's supposed to be a lizard? Alright, solve puzzles reward you by revealing a piece of art related to the completed puzzle's layout, and sometimes puzzles are stupid dum-dum easy early on, but overall, Picross S was nothing but wonderful thanks to the general inherent simplicity of it all, leading to a very relaxing time and a game I can see myself coming back to in all its various forms and releases for months and years to come. There is also a more complicated Mega Picross mode, but I'm still just getting my feet wet for now, so Picross is enough for me, and this is enough of me for you, so that will do it for this here episode of Attack the Backlog. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage, and of course, if you'd like to find all my links of import, the site, the YouTube, the Patreon, etc., you can do so over at pxsausage.com. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. So for now, adios, arrivederci, bye!